On today's Unscripted Faith, we're diving into one of the toughest talks every parent faces: how to talk to your kids about pornography.
She's been with us before, and she's back with us again. Greta Eskridge, homeschooling mom of 4 and author of It's Time to Talk to Your Kids About Porn. Greta's here to help parents move past the fear and awkwardness and have honest, hope-filled conversations that build lasting sexual integrity in their children.
If you've ever struggled with this conversation or wondered how to start, you won't want to miss this. Unscripted Faith starts right now.
Here we go!
Welcome to Unscripted Faith. We are so excited you are joining us wherever you are joining us from. Today, Jay, we have a rather sensitive topic.
You know, I was thinking about different taglines. You know, they'll have something like viewer discretion advised.
Yes.
But this should also have a Surgeon's General warning, because you don't want to consume any of this stuff. So it's almost like you have both. So if you do have children that are watching it, or listening to it, it's got some sensitive ears. You may want to watch what it is that they may have questions or may bring up things maybe that they say, well, where did they learn that? Well, they're going to learn it in a good way here, though. It's not going to be in a negative light like they'd see on YouTube or something like that.
That's right. We're going to talk to you so you can have the conversation, okay? What if the most important conversation you aren't having with your kids is the one that could protect their hearts, minds, and their future? Greta Eskridge is with us today, and she's continuing to be a bold voice, helping parents tackle the tough topic of pornography with truth, love, and confidence. Greta, it's so good to have you back with us on Unscripted Faith today.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm so glad to be here with you guys again.
Yes. Well, to catch up, some of our viewers who may have missed the last time you were with us, how does a homeschooling mom of 4 take on the topic of pornography and go after it with such boldness?
Well, I'd be the first to tell you I never would have signed up for this job, but when pornography impacted my life personally and my marriage, because my husband confessed to having a pornography addiction, which led to an affair, we were faced with it and recognized that not only did we need to find healing and restoration in our own marriage, but we needed to give our kids better tools for this just really difficult issue so that they would be better equipped than we were. And that started us on this journey. And it's been 15 years, and we are in it to help families and to help marriages and to help kids.
You know, pornography, the internet, all of that came out on the screen and came out on the surface back in, 90s, 2000s, especially, the smartphone and all that kind of came out. We were kind of sharing before how I felt like I was in between two times. You had like your Playboy and magazines and pornography magazines in those days. Now you've got, or when I was coming up, you had, the internet on your phone and on the computer. Now we've transitioned to this AI piece. I think what you're doing is so important because I think if we could have had those conversations with people in the church back in the 90s and 2000s, we'd have known what was coming and how it was going to hit us. It would have aided us so much better.
Yeah, I think that is why we have to be so bold in talking about this with our kids, because they are growing up in a completely different world than we grew up in, and they are facing issues that we did not have to deal with. And so we have to prepare them. We have to be honest about the world they're growing up in, and we have to give them safety tools and a plan for how to respond to pornography, whether it is pornography, on their smartphone, whether it is real life people on the screen or it is AI generated. It's going to impact them, and we have to stand up and help them.
Yeah, I think it's really important because we've talked about it before, but pornography doesn't just come for your mind. It steals your heart, and then, like you said, steals your future, right? So what are you seeing as one of the biggest things that the space children are engaging or experiencing pornography for their first time?
Well, right now, the average age for first-time exposure to pornography is somewhere between the ages of 8 and 12 years old. And so we're finding very young kids who are exposed to graphic, explicit content that is damaging to them. That's their first sexual experience. And it is not a sexual experience that is godly or beautiful the way God intended it to be. Instead, it is often violent. And like I said, it's too much for their developing brains to handle. And that sets the stage for potential problems for the rest of their life.
You know something that's amazing, and we were talking about this a little bit ago about how, the music today is pornographic.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking also about they have like romance novels and things like that. But now the music, not only a lot of times even for the women, beforehand it was like the men, they were wanting to have the women and they had all this going on and the ladies were half naked in a video. But now you've got the women coming out half naked, speaking pornographic lyrics and things along that line. And that is really, really ruining, and it's setting the tone for kids to listen to it, which is probably going to open up a door for them to hop online and then want to see what they're hearing. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. I think what that shows is that we are living in a pornified culture, one that is sexualizing everything and really objectifying everything. So people, whether it's men or women, are no longer valued for their minds, for their creativity, their sense of humor, the good things that are all of them that they can offer to the world. Instead, let us only focus on sexual body parts, what you can do for me, and when I'm tired of you, I will throw you aside and move on. And that is a cultural message that is being seen and shown in music, in TV, on TikTok. It's everywhere. That's what our kids are growing up around. And we as parents have to say there is that is a lie, and we need to show you the truth.
What do you think, like when I hear that, I know that the statistic is like something ridiculous, that the church, what a large percentage of the church, if they would stop in this pornography, participating in this pornography culture, it would really shut down the industry. What do you think is the key to trying to shut that down? Like, how do we actually effectively get this out of our churches and out of our lives?
Well, I mean, that's why the title of my book is It's Time to Talk to Your Kids About Porn, because I believe that's actually how we start, is by having honest conversations. For so long, the church has not addressed this. We're all afraid to talk about it, largely because so many people in the church are struggling with it, whether they themselves personally or their spouse or their kids. Nobody wants to talk about it. Even, yes, pastors, Sunday school teachers, no one is exempt. And so no one wants to talk about it. We're all afraid. We're afraid of being judged. We're afraid of being cast out, and we stay silent. And that's where the darkness thrives. And instead, if we can have the conversation, bring it into the light, say, look how many people are struggling. Let's get help for those people. Maybe get help for me, get help for you. Then that's where change begins. And from there, we can go on to impact greater change, like at a level of like changing policies and stuff. But it really starts with conversations in the home and in Bible studies and from the pulpit, being honest and saying, this is a problem. What can we do to help people? Erasing the shame and instead saying, God wants you to have something better, his good plan. And pornography is not that.
When you talk about it's time to talk to your kids, like that word, it's time. I remember talking to my pastor a while ago about my son and my sons. And he said, have you talked to them? And yet he said, by the time you usually get to the point where you need to talk to them, the conversation should have already been had. And so what do you feel is a good age to start talking to your kids? I know for mine, I started probably about, he was about 9. I started having conversations with him about that, because that was after I talked to my pastor that it was time. And before he got there, and my conversation, Greta, was around those feelings are natural. You're going to want to see, you're curious, but I want you to know if you come across anything to come and tell dad, come and tell mom. If you see it, as a matter of fact, there was something that actually happened at school that he actually came home and told us about because of the conversation that we had. So just
awesome.
from the last time that we've talked to now, I see how important it is to initiate that conversation, so then they're ready and they know what to do with it when they come across it, not if.
Yeah.
Wow, you did such a good job. I am just wildly impressed because that you did it exactly right. Like the ideal is to talk to our kids before they see pornography, because then you can give them the tools to know what to do, to know that they don't have to look at it. If they have a response to it, that is natural and that is normal. But pornography is not natural or normal. So what they should do with that response is to come talk to you. And that's exactly how you handle it. I'm just so glad that you took that initiative, because we want to talk to our kids before they see pornography.
Now, Greta, you have kids that span ages now. They're in their 20s to 13 years old. How have those conversations changed over time? And what can we kind of with the younger ones expect in the coming years?
I have to tell you, it is amazing to raise kids who are not afraid to have these conversations about anything. Just yesterday, I was speaking to my two older kids, my sons. They're 19 and 21. We were talking about sexting and how sexting is the norm. It's considered the first base for most teenagers now. And I said, guys, do you know that this is true? Have you experienced this yourself, or do you have friends who have? And they said, yeah, that is the norm in high school for most kids, that sexting is just what everybody does. Boys will have a screen full of girls from their classes in school. And they said that's the norm. And if you're not doing it, you are not the norm. And I'm so grateful to be able to have those conversations with my kids, because we can talk about, well, how can you be different? What is best for you? And there's no shame. There is no fear. We're just honest with one another. I learn from them. They learn from me.
Wow, honesty is so important, and I want to get more into that.
Yeah, me too.
Listen, don't go anywhere, because we've got much more with Greta right after this short break.
None of us knows how long we have on this earth. What if we intentionally view each today as a gift from God? What if we considered today as a verb, an action that we can use right now? In my book, Today is a Verb, Open the Gift of Now in Every Ordinary Moment, I encourage my readers to grab hold of God's endless gift of time and make the most of every moment. We can choose each day to pray, to serve, to hope, to overcome. The possibilities are endless. Today is a Verb can be read as a 30-day devotional or as a way to revolutionize your life. Request your copy when you give this month to Cornerstone Television by calling 888-665-4483 or donate online at ctvn.org/donate.
Welcome back to Unscripted Faith. We are truly having an unscripted conversation with Greta here, talking about pornography and perhaps getting a little bit of a script for our lives to talk to our kids. Greta, before we went to break, you mentioned that sexting was first base now in this culture. What is sexting exactly, and what is that looking like for our kids?
At first base.
Yeah.
Sexting is where one, in this context, teen is texting another and asking for nude pictures to be sent to them, or sending nude pictures to the other person, and then engaging in sexual conversations via text. And it is actually really dangerous. It can lead to things like sextortion, which is extorting someone for money when they've sent an inappropriate picture. It's dangerous. If they're under the age of 18 and they're sending sexual images back and forth, it can be considered child pornography, which is obviously against the law. It's a dangerous activity, but it's so common and so many kids are doing it because they've never been told that they don't have to participate in it, and it's not good for them. In fact, it is dangerous.
Well, wait, Greta, now you're saying that if it's two like 15-year-olds sending pictures, that's two young kids can have child pornography, like that's illegal? Or are you talking about sending it to older?
No, if you're sending pictures back and forth, it is considered child
Really?
pornography.
Wow.
And even if they're under the age of 18, because no one should be like you
Yes.
can't send explicit images of children, even if you are the child who is sending it. And so it's dangerous and can be illegal.
Well, that's the reason why I asked that question, because you take a look at all the sex, when I say scandals, now it's like you see the P. Diddy case that's going on. And so you have all these people, like, it's so sexualized, but if you engage in it, you're in trouble. So like two kids, you can engage in it, but if you're a kid, it's considered child pornography. I remember some of the things, like we used to flirt with girls, things like that. Nowadays, you can go to jail for the stuff you did back in the day. So I mean, like, it's just amazing to me, Greta, that things are so sexualized, but yet and still, if you engage in it, there's all these penalties that come with it, even though society's promoting it.
Yeah, and that's why we have to tell our kids, because, so for example, if we're talking about sextortion, which is one of the biggest problems is, teenage boys especially are facing, they engage in sending ask them to send them a picture. They do it because they're 14 years old and their prefrontal cortex isn't developed. They're making foolish choices. And they send the picture, and then the person reveals themselves not to be a cute 15-year-old girl, but a grown adult who says, if you don't send me $500, I will show everyone you know that you sent these inappropriate images. And then that kid is the one who feels like he has done something wrong and he's at risk. And he doesn't share with his parents or anyone who can help him because he feels afraid. Our kids need to know the truth about the world they're growing up in, and that these things are a reality, so that even if they do make the wrong choice, they still understand that they are a victim, that people who engage in sextortion and the pornography industry are predatory and they're coming after them. They need to know that they can turn to you for help in those moments where they feel terrified.
Wow. I mean, it is a whole nother level, this world that we're living in and existing in. You know, Jay had mentioned even this new element of AI. Have you been seeing this on the rise, Greta, or what is your take on that?
Yeah, the issues with AI, I think they already exist, and they're only going to increase because there are apps that can, remove a person's clothes. So you have a picture of somebody that you got online or somebody from school, and you put them into this app and it removes that person's clothing. And so then you have a nude photo of them, all done through AI. I think another issue to think about with AI is that it allows there to be no boundaries, no limits. And we see this in other forms of pornography that are animated. For example, in sexual anime, which is a Japanese style of animation that sometimes can be extremely explicit. Because it's a cartoon, anything is acceptable, anything is possible. And that is such a dangerous world to be a part of. And AI is headed in that direction, and in some places already is. And that's why, again, this is another issue. As parents, we have to talk to our kids because we need them to know that these are not things to play with. It's not just a cartoon. It's not just something that's a joke. To be able to create a picture of somebody that you know with no clothes on, that is a violation. It's dangerous. It is not God honoring. It's not in any way something they should take a part of.
You know, Greta, it's funny how the devil always starts with, you remember back in the day they had Adult Swim, South Park, all those things. And I remember when I was pastoring in my mid to late 20s then, I think at that time. And I remember sitting there thinking, I was like, the devil thinks he's slick. He's gonna bring out cartoons. People would say, oh, it's just a cartoon. It's not that big. It's all color, and even like using art. The nudity in art and things like that. All those things, the way the devil subliminally brings it into kids, so then they are exposed to it, and then they're gonna want more of what they don't know is in there or not. So as we're getting closer to the end of our conversation here, what are some practical tips though? I mean, like even for churches, what should churches be doing? How do we bring more awareness to get people having these conversations before it's too late?
Okay, let's start first with what you should be saying to your kids. And I'm going to go back to what we talked about earlier, is that before your kids, ideally before your kids are exposed to pornography, they should have a plan for what to do when exposure occurs. So they need to know what pornography is, and they need to know what to do if they see it. And then they need to know, this is the most important part, to come talk to you. I have a whole script for that in my book, and it's not as hard as you think it is. And you can have those conversations when your child is 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. That is number one practical tip. And then if we're going to talk about churches, I think churches need to be really honest about helping the people in their churches who are struggling with this. There are so many organizations who are out there helping people who are struggling with pornography in their own life, or who have been impacted in their marriages. So helping the spouse as well. Being willing to create space for those groups to meet at their churches, to send people in their churches to trainings, to get them to be prepared to help others. Like, those are tremendously helpful, so that when a person in your church comes and says, I need help with this, you're not like, oh, we don't really talk about that, I don't know what to do. Go look it up online. You can say, here, we have these in place to help you. You're not alone.
Wow. Greta, we are so thankful for your wisdom on this. And I know it came through your life's pain, but really turning that into purpose. Thank you so much. So that hopefully, when I think about even your story about how the Lord, there was pornography and it led to adultery, like, for us to realize this isn't something that's just sitting in someone's mind. It looks for it to be conceived in the world. And we thank you for helping us to stop or halt or push back on the enemy in this area. Thank you for being with us, Greta.
Thank you for having me and having this conversation. It's so important.
Awesome. Greta just challenged us in a big way, and now it's our turn to get real. We're pulling questions from the fishbowl, and trust us, they're not softballs. You're not going to want to miss this. We're diving in right after this break.
Welcome to Dashing Dish. I thought I was busy, and then I got married and had 2 kids and started a business and now homeschool. And although I'm busier than ever, I also realized if I do not put my health first, I'm no good to anybody else. I'm Katie Farrell, and I'm taking you through a day in the life with breakfast, lunch, dinner, and even snacks on the next Dashing Dish. Linda had been abused by her mother as a child. As she grew, her heart became bitter towards God. But praise be to God, He got a hold of Linda's heart when she was in her 80s and has done a mighty work. She's a new creation in Christ and is praising God for filling her with His love. Linda, we rejoice with you. May God use your testimony to help others find new life in Christ. I'm Anna Schmidt, and this is Good News.
If you're just tuning in, I want to encourage you to go back, find this episode again. I believe that every pastor, church leader, minister, parent needs to see all of these things, because what we're talking about is what's going to affect our children. And even if you have grandchildren, maybe your sons or daughters aren't doing right, but the grandchildren are being impacted. And so it's very, very important that we address these issues.
Yeah, I mean, like we were saying, that sexting thing,
Yeah.
I mean, that was news to me.
Yeah.
And to hear that, like, they're using it to extort. And can you imagine a child who just made this rash decision, a 14-year-old boy, oh yeah, this is a girl I'm into, and she's wanting to, and he sends a picture, and then they say, well, I'm going to show your family and all your friends if you don't send me $500.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the predicament this puts our kids in. And I mean, it seems to be a pervasive issue.
And think about it. Are you going to trust a young boy or young girl with your body in their phone? Like, they're not going to show their friends.
Right, absolutely.
I think thinking about that, I mean, them are the things that she mentioned that kind of really came alive to me. I was like, oh my gosh. These are the things that people need to be aware of. Like, before you click that button and send, you better ask yourself, am I willing to pay the cost for that?
Absolutely. I mean, so many things in this digital era, nothing goes away, okay? No. It is there forever. Yeah. So anyways, let's hop into some of these fishbowl questions, okay, Jay?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's see. How did your parents talk to you about sex and porn as you were growing up?
One of the things porn wasn't big. I mean, it was, but not like it is now. You know, the conversations where, you know, you had to go to an adult store, or, you know, you had to be 18 or 21, I can't remember what age it was, even to get in there. So you wasn't going in there. The only way you could ever be exposed to anything like that was with other kids that may have stole something from their dad or something along that line. So my mother did basically what I talked about earlier. You know, my mother and my father, they're like, hey, listen, if you want, like, even for sex education, I never took sex education in school.
Oh, wow.
My parents didn't, they said, you want any questions, we're gonna do that at home. We don't know what they're showing you, what they're talking about. So we did it at home. My mother said, you could ask me anything you want. My dad said, you can ask me anything you want. We'll sit down and have a full conversation.
Let's
and
go.
No holds barred. And whenever I had questions, I went to them, and I learned sex ed at home,
Come on.
not from the school system.
Oh, I like it. Did you ask lots of questions?
I did.
Go ahead.
Sure did. Oh, yeah. Mama, what's that for? Mama, why they do this? Mama, how babies come forth? Oh, yeah. All that stuff. Yep. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, all right, well, listen, I didn't. My mama was like, didn't talk to me nothing about nothing. But I love her. She is just the most amazing woman. And same with my dad. But we had sex education in school. So then our friend, you know, you talked about with your friends and with your health teacher.
There you go. Well, hey, you learned something, right?
Okay, our next question. Was this something that you encountered with your kids? Like, did you have the conversation like your parents did with you?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I kind of mentioned that there. I think
same.
that was something that I really have done and talked to them, and I'm so glad we did, because my son was exposed to something, and he knew, and it wasn't his fault. But he came and shared with us, and we got a chance to deal with some things. So it was really good. I'm glad we did that. So I'd encourage any parent,
100%.
go and do it now.
Yeah. And I did too. You know, in this day and age, like you kind of have to. There's not really like, oh, they're not going to find out. They finding out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
do you want to ask the last question, or you want me to? I'll let you do it.
Sure thing. I got one. After listening to Greta, what are you taking back to your home and to your kids?
The open conversation.
Yeah.
And I think especially the fact of like the normalization of sexting.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
huge.
That is
huge.
not normal. Like, I know that the culture has normalized it, but that's not a normal way to exist.
Yeah, well, what I think I'm taking back is the stuff that you just mentioned, like, you know, bringing awareness to people. I think with the internet, back we were talking about with DSL, dial-up, all that, and then the smartphones, if we could have been ahead of the 8 ball instead of behind the 8 ball, how much damage could we have saved the church? And I think with AI coming in, we've got to get more educated on that and understanding it. So I want to go back. I'm going to use some of this in my sermons. I'll come this week, get ready, another level. I'm going to be bringing some things to y'all, talking about awareness with that. Like, are you talking to your kids about that? And then encouraging our teenage girls and boys, before you send that picture, you could be giving up your whole life to somebody that you don't want to have it. You got to consider that.
Absolutely. Like, we all know, you'll hear people now today say, oh, if you don't want your boss to see you doing that, or you don't put it on Facebook, don't put it on Instagram, don't put it on social media. But even beyond that, I mean, what goes to someone's phone is forever, and you have no control over what they do with it in the future. And I think especially like what she was talking about, the mind of a child is not fully developed. So being able to talk to our kids about this and bring them into a knowledge is so powerful. Knowledge is power.
Yeah, you know, and you have to really think about, you know, what that cost is going to be, what you're going to give up. Talking to your kids about it. We didn't have to deal with that stuff.
No.
You know what I mean? But nowadays, you got to deal with all these types of things. So, ladies and gentlemen, take note of this today. Pastors, take note of it. We've got to bring awareness. We've got to make sure our kids are educated. Open up, have the discussion. Let your kids know it's not a shameful thing to come and talk to you about pornography.
Cornerstone Television wishes to thank all our faithful viewers whose consistent prayers and financial support have made this program possible.